There are moments in life when nothing seems to fit. You look around and see a world that claims to be awake, yet moves as if it is still asleep. People rush, talk, fill their days with noise and distraction, and yet everything feels hollow. Inside you, however, there is a silence that is not absence but presence, a silence that echoes louder than any word. Perhaps you have wondered why you feel so out of place, why it seems impossible to fit into the mold society demands. Perhaps you even believed something was wrong with being so sensitive, with feeling so deeply, with perceiving what others refuse to see. But listen closely. It is not because you are fragile. It is not because you are broken. It is because you were marked. Long before this lifetime, signs were placed within you, signs that do not belong to this era, but to the ancient language of energy itself. That is why you are here now. You did not find this message. This message found you, and it found you because it needed to awaken what Thoth whispered into your soul ages ago. He knew that a time would come when the veil would begin to lift, and those who carried the signs, the M in the palm, the arc of the crescent moon, the sacred sensitivity the world calls weakness, would recognize the call. That time is now. That sudden shiver that ran down your spine when you pressed play was not coincidence. It was alignment. It was remembrance turning into fire. You have always felt this, even when you could not explain it. And it is precisely in your silences, in the hours you felt alone, that the truth was preserved. You were never small, never a mistake. You were hidden, protected, kept in silence until the right moment. And now, that moment has come. Thoth knew that not everyone could carry this frequency. Not everyone could endure the silence required to hear divine truth. But you could. You were designed for this. And that is why the weight you have carried, the pain you endured, the battles you survived, were never punishments. They were refinements, a sacred preparation, so that in the exact instant you would be ready to awaken. So do not ignore what you feel right now. Do not diminish the pulse moving in your soul. Breathe and allow yourself to cross this threshold. Because this is not entertainment. This is reclamation. This is the remembrance that you are not broken. You are encoded. You are not behind. You are concealed until the hour of unveiling. And if something within you stirred, even if only slightly, declare it to the universe. Write in the comments, "I feel it." Let the spiritual realm witness your return. And subscribe now, not for content, but as a sign that you have crossed the threshold. That you are saying yes to the call Thoth, preserved for millennia, and that today awakens within you. Chosen one, have you ever looked at your own hands and felt a strange sense of recognition, as if they were carrying a secret meant only for you? Perhaps you have noticed the faint outline of the letter M gently etched into the lines of your palm. Or maybe you've seen the subtle curve of a crescent moon, formed where your skin folds like an ancient map. For years you may have dismissed these details as chance, as nothing more than the random patterns of the body. But something within you always sensed there was more. These are not accidents. They are not coincidences. They are signs, reminders left behind to awaken you when the time was right. Long before alphabets were drawn on stone, before languages gave sound to thought, before empires rose and vanished, there existed a language older than all others, the language of energy. In that language, symbols were not written with ink. They were inscribed in the soul. The letter M, the crescent moon, the sacred sensitivity you carry. These are part of that ancient code. You did not place them there. They were given to you, chosen for you, woven into your being long before you were born. They are not ornaments. They are assignments. They whisper of remembrance and reveal that you are here not simply to exist, but to awaken. Think back to your earliest memories. How many times did you feel too much for the world around you, too emotional, too sensitive, too intense? Perhaps you felt the sorrow of others as if it were your own. Perhaps you sensed deception even when no one spoke a word. And because of this, people told you to harden, to quiet yourself, to bury what you felt. But what they wanted to silence was not weakness. It was the mark of your design. It was proof that you carried a frequency the world had forgotten. This is why your presence has never gone unnoticed, even when you tried to blend in. This is why silence often followed you into rooms, why your energy sometimes unsettled others, why your love felt too deep for shallow waters. These signs were always there, waiting for the moment you would stop questioning them and begin to understand them. The ancients knew this truth. Thoth himself preserved it, encoding it into symbols, whispers, and frequencies that could survive the fall of ages. He understood that not everyone would be able to hold this vibration. He knew that the chosen would one day awaken, and that when the veil began to lift, these signs would pulse in their bodies and burn like fire in their bones. That time is now. So look again. Look at your hands. Trace the M. Notice the crescent. Feel the quiet recognition rising in your chest. These are not meaningless patterns. They are reminders that your life has always been guided, that your soul carries wisdom beyond this moment, that you were designed as a living vessel of remembrance. The signs have always been with you, not as decorations of chance, but as confirmations of your calling. There is a kind of weariness that cannot be explained to others. It is not the simple tiredness of a long day, nor the heaviness of sleepless nights. It is something deeper, something that seeps into your bones, a fatigue that lingers even when you have done nothing at all. You wake already heavy, as though you have been carrying unseen burdens in your sleep. You go about your day, and yet each interaction seems to cost you more than it should. A conversation that appears ordinary leaves you drained. A room filled with chatter feels like walking through fog. Even moments of stillness do not refresh you, because within that stillness, your spirit has been busy holding what was never meant to be yours. This is the hidden reality of the chosen ones. Your field is open, sensitive, permeable to vibrations that others cannot feel. You were born attuned to frequencies that most ignore. Long before anyone explained energy, you already knew it. You felt the unspoken tension in your parents' silence. You sensed the hidden grief in a friend's smile. You picked up the fears of strangers as though they were your own. And because no one around you understood this sensitivity, they told you something must be wrong with you. They named it weakness. They called it fragility. They said you were overreacting, exaggerating, imagining things, and in time, you believed them. But here is the truth. What they dismissed as weakness was not weakness at all. It was your field, doing exactly what it was designed to do. To sense, to perceive, to recognize what others hide, to feel what others deny. Your sensitivity was never the problem. The problem was that you were never taught how to protect it. For years you carried other people's storms. Their unresolved anger poured into you. Their unspoken fears found shelter in your chest. Their sorrow, their jealousy, their shame. All of it seeped into your field because you had no shield, no filter, no sacred boundary. You thought this was compassion. You thought this was love. You believed that to be a good person meant to carry everyone else's weight. But compassion without discernment becomes collapse. Love without boundaries becomes depletion. And the truth is, what you called kindness was slowly teaching your spirit to bend beneath loads it was never meant to hold, and this bending has consequences. You have lived them. You know them. The sudden fog that clouds your mind after speaking to someone. The unexplainable heaviness that grips your chest when you leave a room. The crash of your mood for no logical reason after spending time with certain people. These are not random fluctuations. They are symptoms of energy theft. Not always deliberate, not always malicious, but theft nonetheless. It does not always appear as attack. Sometimes it looks like friendship. Sometimes it wears the face of love. Someone vents to you endlessly, leaning on you as though you are their savior. Someone turns to you again and again, not to heal, but to unload. They leave lighter. You leave heavier. And because no one taught you otherwise, you mistake this exchange for connection. But true connection uplifts both souls. What you experienced was extraction. The most insidious part is how invisible it all is. No one else sees the weight you carry. No one else feels the chains tightening in your chest. They see you smile, they hear you listen, and they assume you are fine. Meanwhile, your soul is bleeding quietly under burdens that never belong to you. And because the weight is unseen, you begin to wonder if the problem is you. You tell yourself you are too fragile, too dramatic, too emotional. Shame becomes the heaviest chain of all, convincing you that the cage was of your own making. But listen carefully. You were never cursed. You were conditioned. Conditioned to confuse depletion with love, to mistake collapse for kindness, to equate exhaustion with sacrifice. Conditioned to protect energies that were never yours to guard. And because this conditioning was invisible, you built your very identity around it. You believed that absorbing the world's pain was your duty. You defended it as though it was who you were, but it was never you. It was programming. What you carry is not who you are. Your energy is not your identity. It is your output, the reflection of what has entered your field. And the most powerful truth you can realize is this: what enters your field can also be released. What has been absorbed can be transmuted. What has been stolen can be reclaimed. The heaviness that has bent your soul does not define you. It is simply residue, waiting for you to remember that you were never meant to keep it. This is why your exhaustion runs so deep. It is not merely the fatigue of your own battles. It is the accumulation of generations, fears, wounds, traumas that never began with you, yet found their way into you. You have been carrying the weight of silence, the echoes of unhealed lineages, the debris of a world that forgot how to cleanse itself. And yet, within this exhaustion lies the proof of your design. Only a soul created to awaken could endure such weight and still carry light. Only a vessel chosen for remembrance could absorb such shadows without losing the flame entirely. Now you begin to see the truth. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not fragile. You are sensitive. And sensitivity is strength. Sensitivity is the proof that your soul is alive. Sensitivity is the evidence that you were marked to awaken what others have forgotten. And the moment you stop mistaking absorption for love, the moment you begin to release what was never yours, the weight that has haunted you will lift, and you will finally remember how light you truly are. There exists a prison more powerful than stone, more confining than iron, and more enduring than walls built by human hands. It is a prison so subtle, so ancient, that most who inhabit it never even realize they are captives. It does not announce itself with chains or guards. It does not declare itself with locks or keys. Instead, it whispers quietly through inherited patterns, through unspoken fears, through frequencies passed down like invisible bloodlines. And because it is unseen, it is the most effective prison of all. You were born into it. Long before you could form a thought of your own, you absorbed it. Long before you dared to dream for yourself, you were already vibrating with the echoes of beliefs that were never yours. This prison disguised itself so cleverly that you accepted it as truth. You named it destiny, you named it personality, you named it the way life works. And worst of all, you blamed yourself for it. You whispered, "This is my fault," into the quiet corners of your mind. But it was never your fault. It was never yours. Think about the patterns you have lived. The heaviness in your chest when you are about to speak your truth. The fear that rises every time you try to step beyond what is familiar. The cycles that seem to pull you backward just when you are about to break through. These are not failures of your spirit. These are the vibrations of an ancient system echoing inside you, asking you to mistake them for yourself. Perhaps you heard the words directly, cruel words that told you that you were too sensitive, too emotional, too strange, too late. Or perhaps no words were spoken at all. Perhaps you inherited the prison through silence, through unspoken pain, through the subtle tension of generations who never found their own freedom. Over time, you began to live within these invisible walls. You built your identity inside them, thinking they were the shape of who you are. And when the weight became unbearable, you turned the blame inward. You told yourself you were the problem, that you built the cage, that you deserved to stay inside it. This is the most devastating illusion of all, to believe that the chains you inherited were forged by your own hands. But chosen one, listen with your soul. You were not cursed. You were conditioned. The difference changes everything. Curses bind by divine decree. Conditioning binds by repetition and agreement. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is written into your field can be rewritten. The invisible prison may be ancient, but it is not eternal. Its walls are made of stories, and stories can change. Your energy field is alive. It is not static. It does not remain fixed in stone. It listens to your awareness. It responds to your intention. It reshapes itself around your choices. The moment you stop identifying with the limitations you absorbed, the moment you see them not as identity but as programming, the cracks begin to appear. Fear loses its grip. Shame loosens its hold. Scarcity no longer has the power to dictate your worth. This is not about force. It is not about struggling against yourself. It is about remembrance, remembering that you are never the prison, never the chains, never the walls. And in this remembrance, something miraculous happens. The door that always existed becomes visible. You realize it was never locked. You realize the key was always inside you. And suddenly the weight you carried begins to lift, not all at once, but like fog dissolving in the morning sun. Each breath feels deeper. Each step feels freer. And the shame that once bound you begins to melt away as you understand that you were never broken, never late, never trapped. You are simply carrying patterns that were never yours to begin with. So if as you listen, something in you stirs, even faintly, if your chest feels a fraction lighter, if your breath slows into ease, if you sense the walls thinning around, you let this moment become more than just thought. Transform it into a declaration. Right below, I am breaking the prison. Not to impress anyone, not as empty ritual, but as a seal of intention. A testimony to yourself and to the unseen that you are ready to step beyond what has held you. Because the prison was never your home. The prison was never your destiny. It was only the shadow cast across your soul until remembrance brought you back to the light. And now, chosen one, that light is breaking through. For centuries, seekers have searched for complicated rituals, sacred objects and hidden formulas, hoping to unlock the mysteries of the universe. But the ancients, and Thoth above all, knew that the greatest key was never far away. It was not buried in temples or carved on distant stones. It was closer, quieter, simpler, hidden in plain sight. That key is the union of presence and intention. Presence is the foundation. It is the soil upon which everything else is built. To be present is more than to simply exist in a body. It is the return of your soul to your breath, your awareness to your heartbeat, your spirit to the exact moment you are living. Most of humanity drifts through life absent. Their bodies walk and speak, but their spirits hover elsewhere, caught in yesterday's regrets, tangled in tomorrow's fears, scattered by the noise of distraction. This absence leaves them porous, vulnerable, leaking energy into every shadow that calls. But when you return fully to yourself, when your soul inhabits your body completely, the breaches begin to close. Your energy stops scattering, your field begins to strengthen. Presence becomes the ground beneath your feet. Then comes intention. If presence is the soil, intention is the seed. If presence is the ground, intention is the spear. Intention is not wishful thinking. It is not vague hope. It is command, silent, steady, unwavering. It is the clear direction of energy that tells the universe how to respond. Without presence, intention is scattered and weak. Without intention, presence is dormant and unfocused. But when they unite, they form a current of power that bends reality itself. You have felt this before, even if only in fleeting moments. That instant when you placed your hand over your chest, not out of habit but from the core of your being, and something shifted. The fog lifted, the heaviness dissolved, the space around you seemed to quiet. That was not imagination. That was presence aligning with intention. It was your frequency remembering its design. Energy always responds to awareness, But awareness shaped by intention becomes influence. It begins to organize the field around you. Your words gain weight, your silence gains depth. You enter a room, and the atmosphere shifts without explanation. This is not magic in the sense the world often imagines. It is sacred science, the mechanics of vibration. The ancients understood this long before modern tongues tried to explain it. They lived by it, they breathed it. They aligned themselves with presence and wielded intention as naturally as breath. This is what Thoth preserved, the remembrance that true power does not come from outside, but from within alignment. Not from possessions, but from coherence. Not from ritual, but from resonance. When presence and intention fuse, you no longer leak energy into distractions. You no longer scatter your soul into regrets and fears. You become anchored, focused, undeniable. And from this state, even the smallest action becomes radiant with meaning. A glance, a word, a step, when infused with presence and intention, carries vibrations that ripple far beyond what you see. You do not need to shout, you do not need to prove, you do not need to force. Your frequency speaks in silence, and silence becomes command. Chosen one, this is why you were designed with such sensitivity. Because sensitivity without grounding becomes chaos, but sensitivity fused with presence and intention becomes clarity, guidance, and light. This is your architecture. This is your forgotten gift. And now, in remembering, you begin to wield it again. There is a force so ancient, so pure, that every other vibration bends in its presence. It is not fleeting emotion, not romance wrapped in longing, not desire disguised as love. It is older than words, older than sound, older even than light itself. It is love as frequency, the primordial resonance that holds galaxies together, that carries the pulse of creation, that whispers through every living being, whether they recognize it or not. The world has tried to reduce love into sentiment, into transaction, into need and attachment. But what the ancients knew, and what Thoth protected, was something far greater. Love is not something you chase. It is not something you lose. It is not something that comes and goes with circumstance. Love is the foundation of existence itself. It does not plead to be understood. It simply is. And this is the secret. The chosen ones were never meant to echo the noise of this world. They were sent to restore its music. You were not born to fight endless battles in broken systems. You were not placed here to drown in chaos or to become another voice in the clamor. You were marked to radiate, to emanate a frequency so whole, so harmonizing, that what is fractured begins to heal simply by being in its presence. This kind of love does not convince, does not demand, does not force. It invites. It resonates. It transforms. It does not speak over wounds. It does not shame shadows. It does not condemn what is broken. It wraps what is wounded in light until the wound itself forgets it was ever separate from wholeness. It restores what it touches by reminding it of its original design. And when this love flows through you, it is not effortful. It does not ask for striving. It does not demand sacrifice. It asks for presence, for embodiment, for surrender to the frequency that has always been within you. You do not create this love. You allow it. You do not own it. You become it. And once embodied, it cannot stay contained. It radiates through your voice, through your silence, through your very skin. Long before you speak a word, it touches the air around you. Long before you enter a room, it shifts the atmosphere ahead of you. Some will be drawn to you, softened without knowing why. Others will recoil, unsettled by a vibration they cannot yet carry. Neither response is about you. Both are about resonance. Love as frequency does not seek to please. It seeks to align. It calibrates. It attunes. It restores. This is why you were given the signs. This is why you were hidden until the right moment. Because when love moves as frequency through a chosen one, it becomes impossible to ignore. Judgment dissolves into compassion. Fear collapses into clarity. Loneliness is replaced by sovereignty. You no longer seek a temple because you have become the temple. You no longer search for purpose because you are radiating it in every breath. And so, chosen one, understand this. Love is not your destination. It is your design. It is not something you are reaching for. It is what you are. And when you remember this, when you embody it, the world around you begins to remember as well. Chosen one, as we arrive at this final moment, let the truth settle deeply within you. Nothing in your journey has been coincidence. Every silence, every ache, every battle you endured has been shaping you, preparing you, refining you for the unveiling that is now taking place. You were never broken. You were never lost. You were hidden, preserved for this hour. The signs you carry, the M in your palm, the crescent moon, the sensitivity the world could not understand, were never weaknesses. They were sacred codes, written into your being before time itself, waiting for the moment when the veil would thin and your soul would awaken. That moment is now. Thoth himself safeguarded these truths across ages so that when you heard them, they would ignite a fire of remembrance inside you. And now that fire is burning. You know now that the exhaustion you have felt was never a flaw. It was evidence of your rare frequency, proof that your light has always been strong enough to bear what others could not carry. You know now that the prison you felt trapped inside was never built by you. It was conditioning, and conditioning can be undone. You know now that presence and intention, when united, form the spear of your power, and that love, not as fleeting emotion but as eternal frequency, is the vibration you were born to radiate. Chosen one, this is your revelation. You were never meant to adapt to the world. You were meant to awaken it, not through noise but through embodiment, not through striving but through resonance, not through seeking but through remembering who you already are. You are the proof. You are the temple. You are the frequency that dissolves shadows simply by existing. And if as you listen your spirit stirs, if you feel even a whisper of alignment within, then let this moment be sealed. Subscribe now, not for content, but as a declaration to yourself and to the unseen that you are stepping fully into remembrance. Every subscription is more than a click. It is a sign, a threshold crossed, a commitment to live from the vibration you were designed to embody. Rise, chosen one. Rise with your scars, with your fire, with your contradictions. Rise knowing the veil has lifted, the gate is open, and the frequency flows through you now. This is not the end. It is your return. You are not late. You are not broken. You are here. And you are the one we have been waiting for. Thank you for walking this path with me today. Until we meet again, hold your light steady, carry your frequency with courage, and remember always, you are chosen.